This week's homework is going to be based on cumulative frequency. The most important thing to do, as usual, is always read the questions. So the question says the ages of 100 teachers were recorded. The table below shows this information. So on this column here, you've got age of teachers. So it says age in X up there. So it says here the teachers that were between 20 and 30 is 12. 30 and 40 is 30, 40 and 50 is 28, and so on. Now, what the word cumulative means, it basically means just to increase. So, on this column up here, what we need to do, we need to look at the cumulative frequency column and fill in the frequency part up here. So, for example, on cumulative frequency, this here is 12, so we write 12 up here. But for the next line, you have to do 12 plus this 30 up here, which is 42. So we're adding the previous one, the next one every time. So this is 42. Then we're going to add 42 to 28. That is going to be 70. And you're going to add 70 to 22, and that is going to be 92. And you're going to add 92, which is 100. And if you read the question at the top, it says here the ages of 100 teachers. So we know now we've got 100 teachers there. What we need to do now is we need to plot this information on this graph below, the cumulative frequency graph. So what we need to do is we need to make sure we use the cumulative frequency part for ages. So we're going to use this column here, and also what we are going to be using is we're going to be using on the, when it says the age, we're going to be using the end part of the age, so the last numbers of this section up there. It's slightly different from a frequency polygon. With the frequency polygon, you have the midpoint, but for cumulative frequency, we just use the end numbers. So the first one here, the first line we need to do, where it says cumulative frequency, we need to find 12 on this, and 12 is, in fact, look at the scale first. So you've got this scale up here, 10 is going to be up here, so each small one represents 2, each small square, and then we need to put it across 30. So 12 is roughly up there, and to 30 is roughly up there. I'm just going to draw a little dot up there. For the next one, it's going to be 42 on the cumulative frequency, and it's going to be against 40. So 42 and 40 is roughly about there. Then we've got 70 at the cumulative frequency, and then we've got 50. So 70 and 50 is roughly up there. And then we've got 92 and 60. So we've got 92, yeah, 90 is roughly about there, so just slightly higher than that. And then it's against 60, so 90 and 60. So that's going to be roughly about there. And then the last one, we've got 100 and 70. So we've got 100 and then 70, that should be nice and easy. The next thing you need to do is you need to make sure you join this up freehand. So please remember it's freehand, you're not using a line. So roughly it should be, get that right, it should be like that there, a little curve up there, and I'll just do the bottom part as well. So that's what you should have for that. The question normally says complete the cumulative frequency column in the table. We've just done that now. We've got 3 marks for that. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add another question on up here, question C up here. I'm just going to add a question on up here. So what we need to do now for question C is find the interquartile range. Before we do that, what you need to do is you need to look at the lower quartile, the median, and the upper quartile. That's what we need to do. So we know there was 100 teachers that were asked, the teachers' ages were recorded. So the median will just be the halfway through, so it's just going to be 100 divided by 2, and that equals 50. The lower quartile is just a quarter of the way down, so it's going to be 100 divided by 4, which is the 25th value. So that's the 25th value, the 50th value, and the upper quartile is just going to be 100 divided by 4 times 3, so 3/4 of it basically. So 3/4 times 100, and that is going to be the 75th value. So what you have to do is you have to represent that data onto this cumulative frequency. So for the 25th value, please be very careful up here. So the 25th value is slightly up between that's the 30th value there, so the 25th is going to be roughly there. So you would be using a ruler. I could say for the lower quartile, I could say this data here is about 35. So the lower quartile, I could say the age was 35. For the median, which is the 50th value up there, so you go across there, and you can go down to this, and that's going to be roughly, that's going to be about 43. They do give you a lever here in the exam, so if you want to do higher or lower, they do allow you to do that. And upper quartile, which is a 75th value, so that's going to be roughly up there. Again, try your best to use a ruler, and that's going to be roughly about there. I'd say it's about 54. These are the ages, by the way, so these are your ages. Now, the interquartile range basically means that is the upper quartile, just rub that up. So it's the upper quartile minus the lower quartile. So we've got up here, we've got the upper quartile is 54 minus the lower quartile is 35. And that equals 9. Right, what I want you to do is answer this question and then take a picture of your work and upload it onto class charts. But one thing before you answer this question, please remember this cumulative frequency is already worked out for you, so you don't need to work anything out. So you don't need to add another column. All you're going to use is this information on this side up there and the cumulative frequency on the relevant part. But what I do want you to do is try to work out the interquartile range as well, please. Thank you for watching the video.